Hi, it's Penny here, and today we're going to be going through my November TBR and seeing whether I actually read the books that I said I was going to. If you don't know, I use my TBR Machine website that I made to spit out random reading prompts and pick books for me to read. And then at the end of the month, any books that I haven't read off my TBR, I punish myself by donating to charity. It's not much of a punishment, but it's a nice way to have there be some consequences of not reading the books that I plan to read while still actually doing something good and not making reading into some kind of chore that I have to do even if I don't want to. So let's start watching my TBR, and then at the end we'll see how many books I didn't read and we'll pick some charities for me to donate to. Ready? I'm not. Hi, it's Penny here, and today we're going to be building my TBR for November. I'm trying to get down to TBR 0, but I'll be doing a haul later in the month, which will ruin that slightly. Never mind. Also, before I get into those ones, I do have a few books from the library. Firstly, I've got Over the Woodward Wall by A. Deborah Baker, although this is actually by Sean Maguire. This is a book that is referred to in Middle Game. It's a book that a character in Middle Game called A. Deborah Baker, or was she named by something else and this was her pen name? I forget. I might need to reread Middle Game after I read this. But regardless, this is a book that was essentially used to put ideas into the minds of children that then would kind of create these beliefs that would enable magic in the world. So hopefully if enough of us read this, that will actually happen in real life, right? That's how it works. That might not be right, but I'm going to read this for sure. Okay, so I did read Over the Woodward Wall. It pretty much met expectations, except that I didn't think that it was going to end the way it did. I thought there was going to be an ending, but in fact it's going to be a continuation, which I'm somewhat frustrated about. Also, I read the book and I still don't know how to do alchemy. Like, rude. But at least that's one book that I've read. No. I also have Mallory by Josh Malerman, so this is the sequel to Bird Box, and I always wondered what happens next, and I think this book is going to tell me what happens next. So okay, I'm super excited. So I did read Mallory right at the end of the month, but still I read it, and I think I didn't really know what to expect going into this, but it was very similar to Bird Box. It wasn't quite set where I thought it might be set, or when I thought it might be set, but it met expectations in terms of quality, which is what really matters. What's next? Excited to read that as well. And then my last library book is The Devil and the Dark Water by Stuart Turton. I don't know much about it, except I think it's meant to be a Sherlock Holmes style murder mystery, except there's demons. I also believe that it's mostly set on a ship, so I guess it's kind of like a murder where you know it has to be someone on the ship that did it because everyone's on the ship. I can't see this. So I did read The Devil in the Dark Water. It took me quite a long time, which is why some of the books later in this TBR I didn't get to them. Also, I thought that this would maybe be a lot more twisty and paranormal than it was, just because that's what Stuart Turton's first book, The Seven Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle, was like. But even though there was a little bit of maybe paranormal stuff in there, it wasn't really as twisty a murder as I expected. And that whole boat map didn't really play into things like I thought it would, really. I would probably say this one didn't meet my expectations. I'm not going to tell you whether that's in a good way or a bad way, because I will give more details about my thoughts of these books in my book battle in a few days. You have to wait, that takes me longer to put together. Okay, so far we got 3 books read. That's pretty good. Okay, so that's the first 3 books on my TBR. Let's pick 3 more. So I've got the TBR machine here. Let's pick our first prompt. Read a book written for young adults. I'm sure I have a few of those on my TBR. Okay, I picked an easy one. I'm going to go with A Ballad by Maggie Stiefvater. So this is the first one that I didn't get to. I actually read the first 2 chapters of it on the very last day of November, but then since I didn't manage to finish it or make any decent progress in November, I thought I'd just drop it and focus on December so that maybe I can do better at this in December. That's my goal. Let us pick the next prompt. Read a book that is out of your comfort zone. Why do I keep getting this one? I don't want to though. What if I just don't? Okay. There weren't that many options on my TBR because I don't tend to pick up books that are out of my comfort zone for my physical TBR because I'm trying not to buy too many books, and so I'm mostly only buying books that I'm quite interested about. But I do have this book that my sister gave me. So this is Pixel Juice by Jeff Noon. I've put this on my TBR several times and not read it. I didn't read it this time again either. What I will say though is I'm sure that my sister told me this was weird short stories, but even though I didn't read this, I did open it. Because I was like thinking about how many stories are there, could I make some progress on it, and it starts with a prologue, which really makes me doubt whether it's a short story anthology. Clearly I have no idea what this book's really about, and who knows when I'm going to find out. Alright, so then we've got read a science fiction book. And just as I was looking for that last one, I realized what I should have picked for the YA prompt, so luckily I can pick it for this prompt. Okay, so I'm gonna pick Vortex by S.J. Kincaid. Yeah, I didn't read this one either, and I'm really annoyed because I wanted to read this one. But there's another S.J. Kincaid one later in this TBR, or at least I read another S.J. Kincaid. So at least I read the author. I think it's on this TBR. Anyway, it's the third one. And you might notice that this is the second time in a row, the second month in a row where I haven't read any of the books that my TBR machine picked for me. And so that might make you think, Penny, why are you even bothering doing this? But I promise you, I have been reading books that my TBR machine has picked for me. Just since I decided to do this punishment thing, I haven't been any good at it. Let's just say it's my subconscious wanting to donate to charity. But I have some plans to try and make myself better at it next year. Next year's always better, right? So that means this is my TBR for November. Honestly, given my reading pace since I went back to work, this seems optimistic. But at least I knew it was optimistic right from the start, right? I am getting used to working, so I'm getting better at fitting things around work, and I'm not so tired, or like my brain isn't so overwhelmed with learning everything. So maybe that would have been true, except that one week I had to go into the office every day, and even though I'm getting used to working, I'm not getting used to working in the office because most of the time I'm working from home. And as well, I did end up taking on kind of a bigger piece of work in November, which meant I had to do a bunch of extra thinking, which took away from my thinking power that I could use for reading. Also, I do want to talk about the audiobooks that I want to read in November. So firstly, I think that I'm going to be spending a lot of November listening to the second half of Oathbringer. I did start reading it physically, but when I started a job, I ran out of time to finish it. So Oathbringer. I ended up not actually picking up that audiobook until right near the end of the month, which is good for the rest of the audiobooks I'm going to talk about in this video, but wasn't so great for getting Oathbringer finished. So I've still got, I think, about 12 hours left of Oathbringer to listen to, which I have carried over to December. So Oathbringer will be my fourth book that I haven't read off this TBR. So other audiobooks that I have The Black Prism by Brent Weeks. I honestly was on like a 6-month queue for this, so I need to make sure that I get to this, oh dear, in the next 7 days. 51 people are waiting. I guess I better listen to this before I start Oathbringer. It's good that we're reviewing this. So I want to read The Black Prism, which is the first book. I ended up reading The Black Prism in October. I guess because I pre-filmed my TBR a little bit, so then once I realized it was about to return itself, I just read it and I really loved it. So I finished it really quickly. So I didn't read that in November, but I read it in October, so that's not a punishment. I also have the audiobook for The Deck of Omens by Christine Lynn Herman. This is the sequel to The Devouring Grey, and there's just 2 books because it's a duology. I actually had the physical book on my October TBR, but I didn't get to it. But then I found out I could get the audiobook, so I've decided to get to it that way. And in this series, we have these founding families who protect this town from this demon-type creature that they have trapped away in this fog. Each of the founding families has different kinds of magical abilities, and we're basically following a group of teens who are dealing with the latest escape attempt by this demon. But there's also kind of a generational conflict between them and the adults, and there's a bunch of different like power plays going on between the different families. So I liked the first book. I'm interested to see what the second and final book will do with that. I did read The Deck of Omens, and now that I'm hearing what I was talking about, I think it's that generational conflict that I was really excited for, and I didn't get enough of it. So maybe that's part of why I didn't enjoy it as much as I was hoping to. But I would still say in general it was what I expected. It's the second book in a duology. And I read it, so that's the most important thing. A couple of series that I've been reading. So The Golden Tower by Cassandra Clare and Holly Black. That's the last book. And then I read The Golden Tower. Again, last book in a series, so I knew what to expect. And it was a pretty good conclusion to the trilogy. Again, more thoughts in my book battle video coming out in a few days. I also have Siege and Storm by Leigh Bardugo, which I believe is the second book in the Grishaverse, which is all about this girl discovering that she has these magical abilities. So, I did listen to Siege and Storm, and I was so bored. But honestly, that's what I expected. So maybe it was a self-fulfilling prophecy and I made myself bored. But regardless, I read it and it was what I expected. So that's how many audiobooks? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Did I count that right? 5 audiobooks is completely doable, and I'll probably pick some more up, I think. Is that the only ones that I had on my TBR? I think I read a lot more audiobooks than that, which is strange since I didn't get to one of the ones that I did have on my TBR. I must have lost track of things at some point. Anyway, overall, the summary is, I've written it down. We've got 6 books that I actually read off my TBR, which is interesting because I think I've read 12 books. So there's another 6 sneaky ones that got on there instead of the ones that I was supposed to read. And then there were 4 books that I was supposed to read and I didn't, which means we're going to pick 4 charities to donate to. I'm going to donate 20 New Zealand dollars each to them. Honestly, I can only afford this because I am lucky to have a well-paying job at the moment. If I ever lose my job, we'll have to change the punishment. So what I have done is I've taken all the charities that you guys have suggested and I've put them in a list. I've got 10 charities at the moment and I have a matching list of 10 New Zealand charities. So I'm going to go alternate between the 2 lists. So we'll pick twice from your list and twice from my list. So let's do the 2 from your list first. I'm going to ask Siri for 2 random numbers. Siri that clever? No, she's not. Siri, can you tell me 2 random numbers between 1 and 10?
1 moment. That would be 11.
No, thank you. That's not right. Okay, we'll just keep it simple for Siri. You know, you've got to keep things simple for Siri. Siri, can I have a random number between 1 and 10?
It's 6.
6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So one of the suggestions that you guys have made is to donate to Save the Children. Why has my computer just started making weird noises? Can you hear that? Maybe you can't hear that and it'll be fine. It's a very... Oh. That's... Hang on. I've got a disaster on my computer. I know why. Anyway, moving on from that disaster. So basically the Save the Children Fund is quite well known. They try and help children in poverty across the world. I will probably donate to the New Zealand division, but they still help people globally. Then picking another one, Siri, can you please give me a random number between 1 and 10?
Here's what I found.
No, that's wrong. Siri, can you please give me a random number between 1 and 10?
Here's what I found.
No! Siri, what's a random number between 1 and 10?
It's 10.
Thank goodness. So this is the most recent one I got, and this is the California Wolf Center. Oops, my camera died, and I don't know when it died because I wasn't paying attention. I was doing other things, getting mad at Siri, that kind of thing. Anyway, we have picked the Child Poverty Action Group. This is a group in New Zealand that's trying to address child poverty, which we do have a bit of a problem with, so it's something I really wanted to look into, how I could donate to help with that. And then we'll pick one more charity. Siri, give me a random number between 1 and 10.
The answer is 9.
9 again. So we will give double the donation to the Child Property Action Group. So that's my whole punishment thing for not reading all the books on my TBR. As I said, do check in a few more days and I will have my book battle up with a lot more in-depth thoughts about the books that I did read, including ones that weren't even on this TBR. And as well, if you have any charities that you think are particularly deserving of a donation, please leave them down in the comments below. Specific charities are better than generic ones, although I'm also open to generic ideas about good areas to donate to. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching. I hope that you are doing well, and I will see you next time.